I'm Harry Hayes with Scituate TV, and we're here with Roger Dawley, Scituate's very own class of 2015 SHS. Roger, how are you?
I am you, Harry. And it's sort of this worldwide phenomenon thing that I had never heard of at all. But sort of once you see it, you don't unsee it. It's everywhere. I sort of explained it to people who didn't sort of get the context of it. You don't have young kids, or if you don't babysit, there's no reason to know what it is. But basically, the Dora, the Blues Clues, all of that, and I got to be the Steve from Blues Clues. Right. The show centers around this boy Ryder and all these dogs. Basically, there's, I want to say 7. We had 7 in our show, but
make sure it's accurate.
And I should know those numbers better because there's new characters. Give me some leeway. But they all sort of have different skill sets. So whenever something goes wrong in their town, he is sort of like, so-and-so, you do this. We need to do this. And then they pull out magically everything that they need to solve the problem and save the day and all of that. Okay. So yeah, I got to be that person for 9 months. Yeah.
And you did a North American tour with over 200 shows, yes?
Yeah, so we toured all of North America, spent over a month in Canada. We would have sit-down sort of in states, so we spent a lot of time in Canada. We spent over a month in Texas, almost 2 months of the tour in and out of California a lot. But it was great. I got to see a lot of places across the country that I wouldn't have seen, especially being from Massachusetts. I was sort of on the opposite end a lot of the time, which was refreshing and just interesting to see because I wasn't familiar with any of the areas. Yeah.
So is every show the same show, or do you guys adjust as you go along the tour?
It's for human error. It is exactly the same. Given I was definitely one to love things every once in a blue moon, and it would never be purposeful, it never be whatever. But doing something, I think 215 shows, I think we did. You're just bound to fumble at some point, but aside from that very rare that, it was exactly the same. I had been here subletting for the month of July last summer. I had a bunch of different projects that were they were always on a week, the end of the week, there was always something big for me here. So during the week, I was just kind of filling the time with finding things to do and sort of going to auditions and stuff like that. And I happened to get an email. I happened to go to one that I didn't get. And it was through this company, and Michael Casero is the casting director. His office just emailed me and said, "Hi, Roger, we're looking for, this is the information on the tour, this specific part. We'd like for you to come in. Here's the information on it at this time on this date." And I kind of had never gotten an email like that before, so I was like, I guess I have to, of course I want to. I wanted to just show them, whatever best foot forward I could give. So I did that and kind of didn't think anything of it, just sort of very, very standard. And then slowly but surely, every time I was called back, so I was like, oh God, I actually have to look up, I have to know a bit more of this than I did. I came in and I remember I sang and I maybe read the monologue thing that I ended up doing at the beginning of the show for 9 months, but I didn't know that. And I just remember being very tongue-in-cheek and not putting much pressure on it, which is rare because normally I'm all over things and thinking about and spinning, but I just wasn't for this because it wasn't on my radar at all. So I think that served me well. I sang first, then I had to come in and dance, and then I had to come in and sing and do all that again for the Nickelodeon people, the people from the production company, all the final checklist people were the final one I remember.
Okay. And at what point did you start to binge watch the show, for research purposes?
I definitely looked into it initially, but again, pre-audition, we were sent voice clips. I know that voice clips and maybe video clips. That was enough to audition with, definitely, other than looking at it a little bit. But I had to sit down and actually sit down for a 30-minute episode or several, definitely once I was cast, just to sort of understand what was happening. Because the show itself was about, the vibe was Act 1 was an episode, and Act 2 was sort of a different episode of like different problems to solve. So it's sort of to understand that and like the speed of the show and how they all talk, you had to. And I enjoyed it. It's a very interesting, like funny, silly, ridiculous show. There's a reason it's as popular as it is, definitely.
So once you actually got there on the tour, how did you guys start to prepare for the shows that you had coming up?
They flew, I was back in Boston, so I flew to Minneapolis, Minnesota, was where the production company was based out of, which sort of seems random, but it makes perfect sense when you get there in terms of like space and like the rehearsal studio that we were in. Like everything is much more spacious than it would have ever been somewhere like here in New York, which was awesome. So we got to go there, and then I think we had about, say, 2 weeks, a week and a half, like in the rehearsal room every day, 9 to 5, just like drilling, getting everything sort of in our brains, so that then when we got to Tech, which was in Des Moines, Iowa, which is where we opened, that's where we just were in the theater. We teched it for like a typical Monday to Friday, and then we opened on that Friday. So it was fast and furious, definitely under 3 weeks, maybe 2.5 weeks before we were in front of a paying audience. But I'm not used to that sort of speed at all. Definitely used to like a one night only sort of like a rehearsal or two thing, but nothing that was like this fast and furious. So initially I definitely was like, oh, okay. But I loved it in the end. It was definitely worth all of that effort to have what we got in the end. Sit-downs we were in somewhere for about a week. So a typical average week would be we would perform on the weekend, so we'd travel on Monday, and then if it was in-state, then we'd usually just take a bus. Like we'd have for about 40, 45 people, there were 2 huge charter buses. So those are actually really spacious if you think about those numbers. We each would have like a row or 2 or 3 to kind of just spread out and chill, which I definitely preferred. If we were outside going from one state to another or a longer distance, it was definitely a plane ride. So yeah, we'd travel typically on a Monday, and then we would have sort of a few days off, and then somewhere in those few days prior to typically Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday performances, or Friday through Sunday, we'd have one day that was sound and blocking. So you just go to the theater. We would basically do our formations in the space and see what had to be adjusted, do the sound check, all of that. That took maybe an hour. So we'd have that like initial rehearsal. Some mornings that would be prior to a performance, and then we'd just go into our performance weekend. That was like the typical week. A split week would be 2 cities in 1 week. Say we'd perform on Wednesday, travel, perform Saturday, Sunday, stuff like that. But a typical week usually was a 1 week sit down, which was nice. And there was, if you think about it, several days off. I had basically as many days off in that week as I was working, which was like awesome when those would come by, definitely.
Okay, so you spent like so much time with this same group of 40 or so people. Can you talk about like the camaraderie and the bonding that formed there, probably?
It's like being in an adopted family, whether you want to or not. Luckily, it was like a fabulous group of 40, 45 people, and we had like a wonderful time. There were, so it's combined of the merch team, the crew, and the cast. So there were only 12 people in the cast. And basically, if you really think about it, it is like Big Brother, or one of those weird, like 40 people trapped in a confined space. You all live together in a hotel, and then you all work together. So it's like 20. If you wanted to, you could be with these people 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, which definitely isn't healthy for anybody. But like, I love every single one of them. Definitely, you get to know the ins and outs of people when you live with them for 9 months straight, and it's just a wonderful, unique experience. You don't really get that anywhere else. College, if you think about it, like, and again, I'm pointing because I literally went to school down there, but is different because you at least get some time off, whereas this is like living conditions. But I loved it. I definitely found people who were like wonderful and like supportive and just good people. Definitely, I was out on the road with.
How are the fans? Do you have any rider groupies, anything like that?
It's very interesting. The fan like culture of Paw Patrol is so strong right now, especially with like the online culture. A lot of parents came in T-shirts, Mom Patrol, Dad Patrol,
Oh, that's awesome.
dressed as characters. Like my character specifically, I know they sell the vest that he wears, a version of that online. A lot of dads in that, a lot of kids in that. I, again, was the only live performer for the full 9 months. They have Ryder doing the meet and greets for the North American tour after every performance. So that was definitely my favorite part of the job. And another like beautiful thing that, again, I've been telling people, I didn't really ever talk about this during the tour, but the fan culture among disabled kids and mentally disabled kids and things like that was like a beautiful thing that I really hands-on got to experience on a daily basis. And we got to do all sorts of like make-a-wishes and things like that throughout the year that were definitely like sort of in retrospect like life-changing. That's just something I don't think I'm ever going to be asked to do again ever as myself. So it was really interesting to do it as somebody else and just be there to provide them with what they needed that day. But to these kids, you are this whole other thing. So there's definitely, I put that pressure on myself enough where it's like, you have to keep it up, you have to whatever. I definitely learned the process of being on versus being off and like how to conserve my energy and things like that, because there's a high demand. A lot of people love it so much and there's an expectation and you don't want to crash that down, definitely. There was one day in particular that is just like legendary day in my mind. It was in October when we played the Dolby in Los Angeles. It was the 10 a.m. performances. Kim Kardashian was there, and then so we did 3 shows that day. It was Kim Kardashian, Sierra, Mario Lopez, Fergie. Like in one day, we just had like back to back intimidating people there, and that was definitely like a day that I remember just being like, what's gonna happen next, and like what's happening at all, what is my life, all that. That's a day that I definitely won't forget.
Wow, so absolutely life-changing experience. So what does the future hold for you without pushing too hard?
Thanks for not pushing too hard, Harry. No, I don't know. Other than on Monday, so today's Wednesday, Monday I fly out and I do about 3-4 weeks in Hawaii. We're doing a mini tour of the same exact show that I did this year. So we're doing that in Honolulu and then Maui, and then I come back to New York. So I moved all of my stuff here at the beginning of June. So I'm based out of New York completely now, but I'll come back here and then just go back to school in the fall, because I took this past year off, which I don't regret whatsoever. I definitely was glad that I did that, just because it wouldn't have been helpful to juggle almost 2 full-time jobs at once, and I had to reserve my energy and my efforts for that. And I can't wait to go back to school. That was basically what I learned this year, was that like I do want to go back to school, and I can't wait to go back to school, because that's something that's a part of my brain I just haven't been able to utilize in a year. But that right now, I mean, Hawaii sounds fabulous, so I'm like just focused on that right now, and then school after that. Just the barriers and the structure of like going back to what my life was a year ago before all of this, definitely.
Would you ever see yourself doing another like long-term season tour like that again?
Yeah, I don't know what it would be. It would have to be like, I don't know. It would definitely be something that I would want to. You are packing up your whole life and going away for however long you're signed on for. So it definitely, I'd want to think about it, but like, absolutely, I'd do it again, like in a heartbeat, and I'd do what I already did again in a heartbeat if I, wanted to, definitely.
Roger Dawley.
Cute.
Hi, I'd like to start off by saying that I'm absolutely honored to be the first ever class elected speaker, and probably the last ever class elected. Over the past 18 years, I've often wondered, when is this going going to be over. In reality, I think losing to our incredibly short and unliked Ben was a gift. He did all the class president work, and someone made a mistake because I'm still speaking at graduation. I'm really glad we had our embarrassing Facebook phase back in 7th grade, because I don't know if you've noticed, but our parents are going through it right now. That's right. If you want to see what we did at age 14, now occurring in the minds of adults over 40, look no further than the Scituate Our Town Monthly Facebook page. Visiting the page the other day, I read 48 comments debating the ethics of dog poop. To scoop or not to scoop, that is the question. Several prayers for lost cats, and one fairly accurate post claiming that Scituate in Native American actually means white laundry turns brown here. That the main piece of wisdom she took from Mr. Blake was that you can laugh it off and start again the next day. As a performer, my goal each and every day is just to make someone laugh. That joke could be at the expense of some, but its intent is just that, just to be a joke.
Okay, so we took a look forward. Now let's take a look back. Scituate High School, great times. So you are famous, infamous possibly, for your student elected speaker speech in your graduating year. Can you talk a little about that? Because people around here still rave about that.
Sure. So, that actually, it comes up the graduation season. That comes up a lot. And I forget details. Actually, Mr. Richter came up to me, and Joseph Downing is a gifted singer, talented musician, whatever. I think they had him doing something else, or he didn't want to sing. So they collectively said to me, if you would like to do this song thing, you'll be the soloist on that. And I was like, wow, that's so wonderful. A whole whopping 3 minutes of the graduation, fabulous, whatever. And they didn't know that then immediately after, in the days after, the student council decided, I don't know why, but that they didn't want just the speakers who were speaking. And they wanted to add someone else. I don't know whose idea that was or anything like that. But the class voted, and it was between me and 5+ other people. Wargo didn't know I was singing. Richter didn't know I was speaking. Nobody knew until it was way too late. So that wouldn't and shouldn't have happened. But I just started writing, and then writing it almost like it was stand-up, and I brought it to about 3 adults only that I trusted. I let my parents see it, and I let 2 teachers in the building read it, just to get their advice. And my parents were like, this is a graduation speech. Why are you trying? This isn't a comedy act, was what they said. I have entire pages that ended up killing it in the speech that my dad circled and just X'd out and wrote no. The teachers at school, I remember saying, I think this might be distasteful, this might be this, whatever. And I just remember being like, we'll see, I don't know. And so then Mr. Wargo, the principal, said, this is the deadline for the date. I need you to email that to me. And will you send me a copy, whatever. And in my right mind, I'm like, there's so much in here that I know that he's going to say no to, right, that I just took the speech, and then I opened up another Word doc on my computer. I clicked copy paste, and then I went through the entire speech and deleted every single punchline or every single joke. Anything that he could think that wasn't gonna fly or wasn't good or wasn't okay, whatever, I just deleted, and I clicked send, and he sent it back to me, and there was it was just how interesting. I remember it was something like that, and I just was like, ha 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 ha. And then we go to graduation, and everybody's just doing their thing, whatever. All the speeches are in a binder at the podium, completely done, printed, whatever, so that all you have to do is not sloppy. You just open it and you read your thing. And so no one noticed, very stupidly, I'm carrying my water bottle and this red folder the entire time, and no one was like, you don't need the folder. No one stopped me at any point or anything. Why should they have? But I just got up and I brought my folder and I put it on top of whatever I was supposed to read, and I opened it, and then I just did it, and went well. That I definitely don't regret it. There has not been anyone who has done it since.
First and last.
I said that. I think, but I don't know. I wish there was more of a sense of humor about it, and they would just open that floodgate. But I don't know if there's anyone who like is that ruthless and
Yeah, I definitely think for our year there's a lot of pressure for the next candidate after something like that.
I don't know if that. I don't know. I don't know if it would go over well. I don't know. But I'm glad I did it.
Okay. Speaking of that, do you have any like advice for kids in a similar situation at Scituate High School now who are thinking of pursuing something in the theater arts?
Definitely advocate for yourself. It's hard out there for anybody trying to like pursue things in the arts in Scituate because there's support for it. It's just not as overwhelming as per se like all of the different sports divisions, which are all wonderful and equally wonderful. But I mean, there's just not as much money. I can say specifically like in the drama department or for the art kids or for the musicians. So definitely advocate for yourself. I found myself finding other opportunities around the South Shore and within 45 minutes of Scituate just trying to find opportunities to perform because it's what we have in Scituate is wonderful. It's just limited to what we have. So definitely advocate for yourself. There are teachers in that building. There are people on the South Shore who like want to help and like nurture those talents and stuff like that. You just have to find those people, and those people definitely were like the Lisa Raffertys, who you just have to find the person to say, where do I go? And they'll lead you and guide you appropriately. But just like advocate for yourself, find yourself. If you like theater, find a director and have them mentor you. Like just find the right people. There are just enough tools to be able to figure it out. They're just not as obvious as they are in other places, I think.
Okay, well said. Before we leave, I want to hang on and ask you a couple of questions, specific questions about Scituate. Quick facts. First being favorite Scituate memory. It's a tricky one.
Favorite Scituate memory? I mean, it comes back down to, this is bizarre, but like preschool, I went to Berry Blue, which no longer exists. But like, my two best friends I met there, Murray Trainer and Marley Henshin, and like this bizarre, our entire class, like we still know everybody. So that's my favorite memory, I guess, is just like I'm still talking to everyone that I went to preschool with. That has just been weird to like be out at bars and see like this so-and-so that I went to preschool with. That has definitely, I think of that Berry Blue like weird experience every time that I'm home, and that like weird, the world is this big, like you will see those people for the rest of your life. I guess that's just something that comes to the top of my head.
Yeah, and I think that extends to Scituate at large. It's just such a small, big town.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Favorite Scituate restaurant? This one's controversial. Embrace debate.
I'm a Maria's kind of guy. Like Maria's, I wouldn't call a restaurant. It's a sub shop. But it's still like, I still am like, what do I want when I go home? Maria's. I have mixed feelings about Cersei's, I'll say that now. Would have said that was my favorite. But I mean, you can't go wrong with a slice of cheese pizza and a Greek salad from Maria's.
That's the official Dawley endorsement. There you go.
Yeah.
And favorite Scituate beach, if you want to stamp an endorsement on that.
I guess Peggotty. We said this yesterday. Mine, I think, is more family oriented, and I like the nostalgia of mine and like going there as a kid and the rock and all of that. I love, and people think it's really cool when like we go there. But I kind of like just chilling and just sitting at Peggotty and like hiding and all that.
Mm-hmm. And any last word, Roger, before we lead you out?
No, I mean like. Shout out to SCTV. Shout out to Harrison Truman Hayes, everybody.
All right, this was Roger Dawley, future international celebrity, current South Shore celebrity. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Harry.